Dr. Matt Agnew is here. Now, number one, he's not that kind of doctor. Number two, he's lovely. Number three, he has a PhD in astrophysics. And number four, he's got a new book because he's been busy. I mean, I've got a PhD in astrophysics. What do I do now? Oh, I'll go get a master's in artificial intelligence. Yeah, he's gone back to uni. And on the back of that, he's written a brand new book called Is My Phone Reading My Mind? Which I'm sure that you and I have both, I've certainly felt that because it's just a bit too creepy sometimes. Now, I am recording this about a week or so out from the 2024 US election. And we do speak a little about AI and elections, and we use the US election as an example. So please understand that if something has happened that's now glaringly obvious to us as a community, please understand why we're not talking about that. Get around him. He's a great science communicator. I love spending time with him. This is Dr. Matt Agnew. Thanks for coming in, man. How are you today, Matt?
I'm well. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. And look, I was in Canberra the other day for a shindig, and I'm standing behind David Pocock, the independent senator for the ACT. And I was trying real hard, and I actually succeeded in not asking him what he does at the gym and how often he goes, because he's an ex-professional athlete. A couple of years after his playing career, they don't normally look like him.
Yeah.
He's a man that still has, if he's going to get a suit, he needs to put half the budget to tailoring because he's shaped like a trapezoid.
Yeah.
But I will ask you, holy shit, bro, you're looking good.
Thank you. Yeah, back in the gym, back running. I kind of, I don't want to say the wheels fell off, but you know how things are. Sometimes there's, things that knock you about in life.
Yeah.
Sometimes all the great routines you have with diet and exercise and socializing and all that stuff can fall by the wayside. And so I've had that back in place fairly consistently for the last 3 or 4 months now.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to see some of the perks.
So when I first met you, you were just starting to get into, fighting gravity with iron.
Yes. I kind of had been doing it for a while, but not probably as consistently, I think, as I have been now.
Yeah.
Probably the last decade, it's still always been a bit of a therapeutic thing, kind of getting there. I've never enjoyed going to the gym with friends.
Oh, man.
Because it's not a social thing for me. No. It's in my own head, my own space. It's my Zen time. So it's always been this kind of...
I'm listening to weird philosophy stuff while I'm pulling deadlifts.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not here to talk, it's just, I'm philosophizing.
I've got Alan Watts whispering to me while I'm pushing...
There you go, Alan Watts.
While I'm pushing stuff around.
Great choice of philosopher. So it's definitely been like a bit of a therapeutic thing. And I imagine it's, whether it's weightlifting or exercise or whatever, it's everyone finds their little thing that's their me time, and that's how they really...
But I very much... I trained for aesthetic goals once, and I got those aesthetic goals, but it was very hard and impossible to maintain.
Yeah.
Now I just train to make sure that I get a good hormonal response and my bone density stays up.
Yep.
If it means I fit in a T-shirt, that's nice.
Yeah, that's it.
But you know what? If I'm doing it right, I'm going to fit in my T-shirt.
Yeah, absolutely.
To get the hormonal response I need, I have to push to a particular point.
Yep.
And that means that, like, I just walked into Uniqlo and grabbed a size 30 pair of pants because I know I'm still a size 30.
Yeah.
I'm 50 years old and I'm in a size 30 pair of pants.
Yeah.
It's good.
No, that's it, I think. And it's kind of, I think it's with time. I probably also did the same thing where it's aesthetic driven. It's the beach bod.
It's too bad.
It takes you a long time to kind of recalibrate and be like, okay, no, it's the physiological boost. It's the mental health boost. It's all the other auxiliary stuff. That's why you do it. Fitting into the T-shirt, the kind of that stuff.
That's nice.
That's gravy. Right?
It's nice.
Yeah.
Do you go full science on it though? Do you go energy in, energy out, that sort of thing?
I have in the past. I've had kind of a bit of a probably not the healthiest relationship with food previously, and I have gone way too
I was weighing
hard.
my olive oil.
Yes.
Okay.
Same. Yeah. Weighing peanut butter. I was doing that.
I was like, I don't know, throw it out because I can only have 5 meals.
Yeah.
It just became ridiculous.
It becomes,
changed my relationship to food in an unhealthy way. I didn't like it.
Absolutely. And I've done the same where it's, I think calories in, calories out is helpful at a kind of high level in broad strokes. You know, roughly, a sandwich, what that roughly correlates with in terms of calories. So you've got a rough idea of where you're going. And I think if you don't have any experience counting, it's easy to lose track of things.
Yeah.
But there's a very fine line between having a rough idea and then being obsessive and measuring and weighing it all out. And I definitely had several years when I was doing that, and it's just unhelpful.
When I see those pictures of guys, and because the algorithm, as we'll talk about, shows me men a little bit older than me with like way less body fat than I am.
Yeah.
That I have, like, and I see those guys, but I know those photos probably all taken on the same day.
Yeah.
And if you're like that 365 days a year, fucking hell, man.
That's
like, I don't want to eat in your kitchen.
No.
Because it's not a fun place.
No, that's it. And it's just, I think running at those kind of levels of body fat as well is just, it knocks around all your hormones and
it can't be
brain chemistry and things like that.
So it can't be good for you. But I find, I don't know, how does it affect your thinking? Because you're a person who, I mean, God, you're a freaking astrophysicist with a master's degree in artificial intelligence. There's a lot of brain going on. And thinking and giving yourself time to think is a really important part of your job and what you do. Like, you can't come up with ideas if you're engaged doing something else. Do you find that your ability to be creative and find solutions to problems is impeded when you don't train?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say it kind of is quite tightly coupled with sleep, which we know very clearly what the kind of cognitive effects are of a lack of sleep and sleep deprivation. And I'd say that in a similar sense, exercise probably correlates in a similar fashion. I definitely notice mood certainly is affected by not being able to train. I definitely find that, and sleep, and probably thinking, healthy body, healthy mind. That's come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely true. I think without that balance and kind of holistic, complete everything put together.
Right.
I think definitely that's certainly impacted.
I think there's something in it. I went to, my wife got me tickets to go and attend a lecture of a man, Huber something.
Huberman? I've heard of this guy.
I've heard of this man.
Yeah.
Christ on a fucking cracker, man. I saw a photo of him with his shirt off and I got pregnant. I was like, the guy's got degrees falling out of his ears.
Yeah.
But it's so evident that, obviously there's something going on. Like, he's quite open about it. He talks about, having tics and stuff when he was a kid.
Yeah.
It's so evident that I would highly doubt he would have the career that he has if he didn't also have that practice of training, because it's just a thing that helps balance the brain out.
Yeah.
And certainly in my case, I'm a punish if I don't train.
Yeah. It's definitely like across a whole spectrum of things, thinking, mood, sleep, all of that. It's and we've kind of, it's a weird thing where we've set up this lifestyle where, sedentary and not exercising and seeing it as this chore and effort. And we know that it's so tied with all these positive things to actually be active and moving and doing regular exercise. It's bizarre the kind of systems we've created and put in place where it's kind of by default quite unhelpful.
You like my mate Ruben, he's a scientist, Ruben Meerman. He was on roller coaster for a while. He's been on, it's not Quantum, what did they end up calling it? Catalyst.
Catalyst, yeah.
He wrote a whole book about it, and when he does presentations to kids, he goes to schools and, explodes things in front of high school kids. He says, it's pretty awesome. He does a whole thing where he equates food to, he goes, this can of Coke, you'd need to walk for this many minutes, which is from here to blah, wherever school he's at, to give the kids an idea of like, right. Or this burger, you'd need to, that's literally, if you're 12 and you're eating a massive fuck off, drive-through burger. Yeah. It's like 18 hours of walking.
Yeah. It's you start crunching those numbers and seeing how calorie dense high sugar, high fat foods are, and you turn it into the exercise equivalent, and it's jarring.
Yeah.
And that's why I think counting calories I don't think is helpful.
Yeah.
But having a rough understanding, can of Coke, that's 150, 200 calories. That's roughly, half an hour jog on the treadmill or something like that. Just having those loose numbers, I think helps just kind of.
I don't know. I think it might be more than half an hour. But
It's not little.
No, it's There's just last thing I'll say on this. I always find it funny when cyclists be like, "Oh man, I've got to get these new wheels, the carbon fiber. They're just so much more, 600 grams." Like, just lose a fucking kilo. Just lose a kilo. You could lose a kilo in 4 days.
Yeah,
and you'd be faster.
You don't need to go carbon frame yet.
Same wheels, and it's $15,000 cheaper. You'll be just fine.
Yeah.
It's so nuts. I loved your first book. That it was great.
Thank you.
Very deliberately wrote it for younger people, as you have written this book. Why have you aimed at this age group for this book?
Probably two reasons. One quite obviously being children are moving into an increasingly AI-driven world, and education is power, and being adequately prepared is, I guess, it's the responsibility of our generation to make sure the children are ready. And I think that was largely one of the biggest driving motivation. I think tied in with that as well is, and I think we've spoken about it before, the kind of decline in STEM in boys and girls, disproportionately more in girls, but in boys and girls, both in performance, but more concerningly participation. And so I think, again, creating science and scientific literature and discourse that children engage with is really important. So yeah, there's kind of a piece of let's keep fostering a love of science in children, but then also let's adequately prepare children for this AI-driven world that can be scary if they're not prepared.
Yeah.
And the kind of, I guess, the secondary part of that is that there's a lot of parents and adults who aren't across it, and I think some of them are finding it quite challenging to talk to their children about AI, or even to know, do I need to be concerned? Are they being exposed to AI in dangerous ways? And so it's a way to create a book that is also really accessible and educational for adults, so that they feel prepared and that they feel that they're a little more across what's going on with AI, and that they can help foster a safe space for children to grow up while still being actively participating with AI.
And kids can handle this kind of stuff. There's a misconception that, it's too complicated, we can't tell kids. This is Ruben's big, I'll sort of bring him up again, but it's Ruben's big thing. He has all these models made of molecules, right?
Yep.
And his thing is that we teach them ABCs, we teach them numbers, but we don't teach them the numbers and the ABCs of the actual physical world that they inhabit.
Yep.
Gravity, pressure, such thermodynamics, basic shit. And he gives these kids these molecules, and they build things in front of him.
Yep.
And he sent me a photo one day, and he said, "This is a grade 11 physics exam. It was completed by a 7-year-old."
Yeah, right.
And this kid's not some sort of genius at making an after-school movie about. It's just someone who's had it explained to them, and they can figure it out.
Yeah.
But for some reason, we don't tell these kids this stuff until they're 16.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's too hard for you. You can't deal with that.
That's it. Yeah. I think the current education system needs a bit of an overhaul. And that's not kind of a dig at teachers. I think they're tasked with these, nearly impossible tasks of, you need to teach 30 children this particular topic where they all have very unique learning styles in a limited period of time. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of relics of an outdated education system in place. And this is one of it. It's like, is the pacing right? There's certainly concepts that children can grasp much more quickly than we've probably previously.
Like, it's common knowledge. If you speak another language to a kid before the age of 12, they will learn it like that. Like, tell me it's any different. It's no different.
Yeah. They're very, very robust and adapt. They're sponges, right? So, it's and kind of almost counterintuitively, the book I've written for AI, the age group I've targeted are probably already much more across it than the parents. And so it's funny that, I've written it for 8 to 12, and certainly there'll be a group within that cohort that find it, it's all new, but a lot of them are already, they're doing coding, they're doing IT adjacent subjects. And so a lot of the stuff, they're probably, I kind of already knew about this, but this is a little more detailed for me to understand what the implications are and what are the ethical considerations. So, it's kind of amusing that there's, it's the adults that are probably the ones with the bigger gap in learning.
You got your PhD. I think you became a doctor right after. You had it written. You just hadn't had the thing.
Hadn't defended it. Hadn't defended it, yeah.
You got to stand there and give it the old Tom Cruise, I want the truth business.
That's it.
But then, you got the square hat. Hooray.
Got the square hat.
Yeah. did you get the artificial intelligence thing before or after that?
After that.
So, wow, like I've got my PhD. No, if I can have some more, please.
So
Some more Hicks, please. Can I get some more Hicks?
yeah,
Is that
yeah,
okay?
exactly. Let's keep racking it up.
Oh my God.
So it was a case of after my PhD, I had a postdoc lined up in Germany, and I was umming and ahhing, did I want to go fully down the academic route, or did I want to kind of transition into industry? And I'd previously worked in industry as an engineer, and so I kind of knew a little bit about academia, a bit about industry, and so it was weighing those up. Ultimately, I decided I didn't want to live abroad. I wanted to stay in Australia, and so I moved into industry. And at that stage, data science was not a new discipline, but when companies were looking for data scientists, a lot of the data science degrees were still quite young. And so typically companies were still looking for just PhDs with very quantitative backgrounds, very analytical backgrounds. And so I was in this nice spot where I could jump into data science before. I think nowadays the bachelor and master degrees in data science are really robust and well-rounded, and they're quite matured, and that's where
Just for people to understand, like, how can an astrophysicist go and work in that? Was because when astrophysicists, there's no telescopes that have glass in them. You're dealing with just squillions of lines of ones and zeros.
Yeah.
And it is in the processing of that data that you find your planets in the Goldilocks zone.
Correct.
And it is in the algorithms and things that you write and create to identify that in this just terabits of
Correct.
code. Yeah.
Huge amounts of data. I'm running, millions, billions sometimes of simulations. Of each simulation, you've got, the data of planets and different objects in that planetary system, and how do you distill that down into a figure that says this is where it is or this is where it could be.
So if I want to be able to say, for example, I don't know, I work for a, shall we say, programmatic ad server somewhere, and I'm not saying that you had this job, and I said, look, I just want to identify, guys between the age of 32 and 38 who live in this particular area that have looked at pictures of utes any time in the last, couple of weeks, and their spending habits and all these other cookies are showing that they're kind of pinching their pennies a little bit, and I want to be able to tell them for only this much a month you can own that big fucking truck, buddy. Someone with your skill set can go, I can write you that piece of code.
Yes, and that's the fundamental basics of data science.
Yeah,
and it sounds, I think there is a kind of unsettling feeling about the fact that all your activities online and interacting with technology is being monitored and then sold, traded. Companies are, there's this cross-pollination of data from whether it's Google, which is Alphabet, or Instagram, which is Meta, or Amazon, or whatever. And all this data gets kind of combined and linked up and then cross-referenced with other people's data. And they figure things out about what you're doing, what your interests are, what you're currently weighing up. People always ask about the whole listening to your phone thing, and even things like the fact that we're connected via Instagram. If right now, our phones have probably pinged off each other that we've hung out, and say you're Googling, I don't know, you're planning a trip to Bali or something, and it goes, oh, what if they were hanging out and they were going to go to Bali together, and suddenly I get an ad for Bali. But for me, we've only talked about Bali. I haven't Googled anything. I haven't looked at anything. And so there's this, it's listening to me talk because the only thing I've done was talk to you about Bali.
Right.
But the reality is it's, again, all the data going, oh, well, he likes this. He likes this. They were hanging out. He searched for this. Maybe he's also interested in this. And so it's this, the data is so rich and there's so much of it that it can it's trying to predict how you think and predict your next decisions, which is kind of unsettling to think about because there's ways that could be used in really quite malicious and insidious ways.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. What do you mean could be?
Well, it already is, right?
Yeah, already. Yeah. Look, I mean, what is it? Someone uncovered 5,000 AI-driven Twitter bots out of China who had AI-generated profile pictures. They had legit, but they were able to do a what's the thing called? They basically responded to it and forced it to ask the GPT a thing, and it returned a error. So that's how they identified it.
Yeah, okay.
To make sure that it wasn't a human, but they were ready to go, and it had evidence that it had already fucked around here in Australia and in the US.
Yeah.
But 5,000 5,000 Twitter bots. And that's the thing, man. When people get online and they're like, how dare you say that about the referendums? Like, that's not a real person.
Yeah. You're just engaging with a bot, right? And in fact, the engagement is probably doing exactly what the bot has been unleashed to do, to create misinformation, to then that now is an engaging piece of content that will reach further. It's achieved what it set out to do, which is, propagate misinformation.
Yeah. Look, no sooner could we de-electrify this city than we could turn this stuff off.
Yeah.
So what do we do?
Yeah, it's the whole, the toothpaste has been squeezed out of the tube, right? Regulation and governance, I think, is probably arguably the biggest thing that.
And what does that look like? We're probably 9 months out of an election here in Australia, maybe less than a year.
Yeah.
What do we talk to our MPs about?
I think I wish I had all the answers for this stuff. My thoughts are there needs to be some kind of additional, I don't know if it's a branch of government or kind of like a smaller task force or something. But the current system for regulating tech is it's not just inadequate, but now it is alarmingly slow.
There's not even a Twitter office in Australia to pull that footage of the man getting attacked at the church in Sydney.
Yeah.
They couldn't go knock on a door and say, what are you doing?
And yeah, the regulation's not there. Social media has been, it's been over a decade. It's still not regulated correctly. And there's inadequate legislation around it. And so, yeah, it's not just a case of we're currently, we're playing with AI live. It's the Wild West. It's not just that's bad. It's the fact that the regulation is reactive and it's not being done at all at the moment, but not fast enough. And so my thought is there needs to be pressure, I guess, on parties to implement some kind of task force or whatever that may be that is built with people who are certainly have got a younger lean, people who are very, very AI literate.
Digital native, people who are of the generation that they got a phone on their 12th birthday.
100%, yeah. And then you've also got, though, people, you want a bit of a broad spectrum of society as well contributing to that, try and have as much intersectionality as possible. But also you need big tech to be a part of that conversation as well. And they're going to obviously have things and maybe they're not part of the decisioning process, but they're the ones who ultimately are controlling it all. And so if there is rules and regulations to be implemented, they need to be in that conversation because they need to be the ones that implement it ultimately.
As an adult, I'm 50 and I'm very aware of what happens when I use Google Maps to get me around my city.
Yep.
And I'm very aware how that affects what I see on YouTube. All right?
Yep.
As the saying goes, if it's free and it's useful, then you're the product.
Yeah.
So the map app is not the product.
Yeah.
I'm the one. I'm the freaking product.
100%.
But then again, like I had a Nokia when I was 21, and so there's a point where the utility of this thing, I can Shazam this song in a cafe. I can airdrop something to you. I can find my way to Canberra in the car. That's real useful to me, and I'm prepared to give a certain amount of. Now that I'm driving to Canberra. If I went over the speed limit, how often I stopped for a wee. I'm prepared to give you that for the utility of being able to have my wife follow my trip to make sure that I get there.
Yep.
Yet I'm making informed decisions. 12-year-olds going click, 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 signing up to something, don't have that.
Yep.
What have we got in place in our country, at least, around protecting the data of those children in this place, in this scene?
Yeah, I'm not sure we have anything in place.
Fuck.
Which is no, but I mean that should be the reaction, right? Because it's children are exposed to social media and YouTube and anything where we know there is a very active and very complex algorithm serving things up. It's weird. The data, we're so conscious of our data now. But, a decade ago, we just gave it over. We signed up to Facebook. We just gave the data voluntarily. And so for, I think, our generation, we've missed the boat. When they say there's data leaks, I'm like, it's too late for me. My data's out there. I gave it up, most of it voluntarily. But, our children haven't given it up. And it's inadequate at the moment for protecting their data because ultimately that needs to be recognised for the value and there's currency to data, and if people are going to leverage your data to profit, then I think it's important that there is this sort of ownership to your data.
What kind of profits are we talking here, man?
Well, I mean, exactly what you said, right? When there's tech that is utilizing your data to basically create a service, which ultimately will be tied to ads, really revenue-wise. But yeah, if someone's profiting from your data, it seems very backwards that you're just left, holding the bag, so to speak. So I think
we're talking billions of dollars, though.
Billions.
Yes.
Soon to be trillions, I've got no doubt. The AI, part of the AI arms race is the fact that, the first past the post is going to be in a ridiculous position. And you saw that a little bit with ChatGPT when it was first unleashed. And those sort of transformers, large language models, they weren't created with the release of ChatGPT. They'd been around for a long time. It was just ChatGPT was the first time I thought, you know what, let's let people use this. I think it was caught them by surprise. I think OpenAI typically, they thought, this is kind of a bit of a novelty, but I'm not sure people will find it that interesting. And obviously they were very wrong in that regard, because people talking to an AI algorithm that mimics human conversation is kind of uncanny valley stuff almost.
And they blew past the Turing test, forget about it.
Turing test got smoked, right?
Yeah.
It seemed like all the other big tech companies were scrambling to catch up, which I'm not sure they were. I think they were just like, all right, how do we get our implementation, our iteration of this to the public? And that's kind of more so what they were catching up with Gemini coming out and Copilot and all this stuff. But certainly there's going to be, there is this race, because there's this, I think, assumed power and profit to be made by the first person to achieve certain milestones in AI. So yeah, it's billions, but I imagine it will be trillions
when
at some
you consider the amount of money that places like Alphabet, which is Google, and look, it says OpenAI on the sign, but it's everyone's wearing Microsoft t-shirts inside.
Yes,
it's absolutely the Microsoft thing.
Yeah.
When you look at how much money these guys are currently just backing up a truck and throwing into chip purchases and data centers, and the amount, I'm talking hundreds of millions of dollars they are putting into this stuff.
Yep.
There clearly is something well worth chasing. You mentioned milestones that these guys are after. What kind of milestones are we talking about?
I would say that for most big tech companies playing in the AI space, a sort of AGI, a artificial general intelligence, is seen as the sort of holy grail. And what I mean by general intelligence is ChatGPT, while it seems human-like in its conversation, it's the illusion of conversation, right? It's the illusion of thinking and the illusion of intelligence. It is algorithmically driven, but that also means that it's got a very narrow kind of application or use case, and that use case is creating human-like conversation. If you asked it to do something more general, like drive my car from A to B, it can't do that. It's got nothing programmed into it at all that relates to being able to navigate from A to B. Just like you can't ask Google Maps to tell you, what's 2 times 2. These things have very specific use cases, and they're quite narrow in function. General intelligence is the idea, like us, you can give it any sort of problem and it can solve it the same way we solve it. If I say, how do you get from A to B, you can tell me in some way you can solve that problem. If I give you some algebraic problem I want you to solve, again, you could solve that. AGI, I think, is seen as the holy grail, because it's saying, all right, not only do we have something that you can interact with in a human-like fashion like ChatGPT, but it can solve things generally like humans. And I think that's probably arguably the biggest milestone. And I think that's sort of seen as the first step on the way to what's called the singularity, which is a whole other kettle of fish, being as that general intelligence approaches the point of human-like intelligence and ultimately blows past it.
And it starts to get identified as sentient.
Yes. So, I mean, sentience is still very hard. You ask 10 different scientists how to define sentience and you get 10 different answers. But yeah, if you had something that kind of is mimicking human intelligence, it's very hard to argue against sentience at that point. I think anything before that, okay, yeah, it's, how do you it's a bit more nebulous, right? But as soon as something is as smart as you, it's very, very difficult to say I'm sentient, but it's not.
But from the way I understand it, Matt, you mentioned AGI and then the singularity. But from the way I understand it, if you've got fast enough processes, once the thing figures out how to train itself, the fastest, like it is just exponential how quick it gets to, and now I know and able to execute all kinds of, and just whoever's next doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you're the second country to have this, you may as well not own it at all.
For sure. And I think, the humans suck at exponential growth. We love linear.
This is the hockey stick on a graph.
Correct. Yeah.
Double.
Yeah. And we are brilliant over millions of years of evolution. Pattern recognition, great. We can draw things out. Linear extrapolation, we're great at that. Exponential, we're garbage. And that is so true with the singularity and the development of AI, because we have this idea that, okay, yeah, we 10 years ago we didn't have ChatGPT, now we do. So 10 years on, we'll have twice ChatGPT. And it's like, well, that's not how it works. 10 years from now, you could have 100 times the compute power of ChatGPT. You could have 1,000. It's growing not just faster, but increasingly faster. We blow past it quickly. It's not like we get to human intelligence and then the time it took us to get there is how long it will take to then surpass that. It's exponential, and not only exponential, but as soon as you've got something smarter, you can then kind of further optimize it, and it's almost like then a further compounding of that acceleration of it's there's a few things at play there.
I think I'm going to get the numbers a little bit wrong, but I think it was something like 1902 or something like that was the first automobile to go 100 kilometers an hour. It was an electric automobile that went 100 kilometers an hour in like 1902. The first place to legislate seatbelts was Victoria in 1974. So we had 72 years of death, maiming, destruction, people's lives fucking ruined, no speed limits to, okay, you can drive 180, all right? Everyone will be late, fucking wowzers, but okay.
Jump in, let's go.
Drink, whatever you fucking want. Like, it took us that long of just carnage before we went, maybe we should put a seatbelt on this. Yeah. Maybe we should put some safety rails on the roads here. That's a broad way of getting people to start thinking about, like, we can't imagine a world where there was no speed limits. We can't imagine a world with no seatbelts. No one would get in the car if it had no speed limit, no seatbelt, and someone was drunk behind the wheel. Forget it. Yep. I would get in a car with airbags.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit how nice your vintage thing is.
Great. Yeah.
Unless we're driving real slow on a Sunday rally, I'm not going to do some turns with your thing with drum brakes. Not going to happen. We need to have these conversations like not even yesterday, right?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I mean, what's the seatbelt? What's it going to be? We can kind of forecast. We can see, okay, there's predictable ways this could be misused and predictable ways this could be dangerous. Then there's other ways that we don't know, and they're going to be kind of the harder things to put the guardrails around, because it kind of, until it happens, we don't know. And if it happens once, then kind of, again, the toothpaste is out of the tube. It's very hard to reverse and put that back in. So, yeah, I mean, you're seeing some of this play out now. There was the awful case a couple of months ago with a schoolboy who was creating deepfake nudes of female students. And how did we fail educationally that person got through the primary school system, got into high school, gained access to that sort of technology, and that was there was no catch in their mental thinking to not do that. That if that idea popped into most people's heads, it should rightly be seen as an abhorrent use of technology. So how did that happen? Where is it a failing of education? Is it a failing of guardrails with regards to the technology? Probably a bit of both. And so now that's something where, okay, well, we need to start addressing this now, because people are going to keep misusing it and abusing it, and it's our responsibility to put those kind of safety nets in place. And there's kind of none at the moment. As I said, we're playing with it live and figuring it out as we go, which is just woefully inadequate.
And unable to, you mentioned humans suck at exponential. Humans, I think it was Hans Rosling said, beware of straight lines. We suck at exponential growth, but we also suck at understanding how our own biases can be manipulated. We have the anchoring bias. That's the thing that we refer to everything else as. So even if the first thing is completely false, I don't know, this water here, if you drink any more of it, Matt, one of your toes will fall off. And then you see 10 articles going, water's perfectly safe. Here's the 1,000 people who all have all their toes. You'll still be like, I don't know, because our brains work that way, right?
Yeah.
This is something that can be totally used to manipulate people around elections or something like that. Say, for example, in the States, it'd be very easy to go, there's violence at the polling booth, don't go down there. Or, I don't know, they could alter the gate slightly of some footage that exists and make it look like someone's a bit kind of more frail or older or slurrier.
Yep.
And that's, even though it's not real, now you're wasting all your time and effort trying to prove it as a wrong, and humans are fucked.
And this ties into as well, in a similar fashion, the whole Brandolini's law, the bullshit asymmetry principle.
Talk to me about Brandolini's law, the bullshit asymmetry principle.
Yes, and it's some similar kind of overlap, which is the sense or the idea that the amount of effort, time, energy, resources to debunk bullshit is an order of magnitude more than to create that bullshit. So in the same fashion, I tell you something absolutely outrageous, like, Kamala did something, I can't think of something off the top of my head, but something.
Juggled bananas.
She can't be president. Now, to debunk that, that's out there. It takes 10 times more effort to say, no, well, hang on, that didn't happen. She didn't juggle bananas because there's no evidence. But you've got to keep doing that and pushing that narrative. And everyone's like, no, she's juggling bananas. That happened. I read that the other day.
Oh, the banana juggler?
Yeah.
Yeah, I read about that.
And so the amount of effort to kind of reverse that is so much more than it was to just say, bam, she juggled bananas. So it's really, it kind of highlights the fact that I think there's misinformation that can be spread so easily that then to reverse that, it's kind of, well, by the time we reverse that, 10 more things have been spread misinforming people. And again, it's another 10 times more effort to debunk that. There's not just this primacy or anchoring bias that you said, but there's also people who take advantage of this. It was probably taking advantage of that very phenomenon.
Well, it's a tactic. It's called the dead cat.
Yeah.
Like you throw the dead cat on the dinner table. Even if someone brings up, I don't know, the fact that your eldest daughter Jessica lives with Belinda, and then instead of talking about that, someone throws, the dead cat on the table and talks something crazy about, I don't know, let's say, for example, nuclear power is a great idea. The reactors don't exist, but I think we should do it. That buys like 6 weeks of time for you to do something else in the background while people are going, but what? Hang on.
Debunking still. Well, the next thing's kind of coming out.
It's well and truly a tactic that is used, but we fucking supercharged with this stuff. And as adults, we have an idea about what's going on. And I look at, my 2 kids, my stepdaughter, Georgia, she's 20 now, and Wolfie is 5. Like Georgia has she's got a pretty good idea about how the world works, and that when she watches her shows, the dating shows she watches, which are all really good, she's got a pretty good idea of what an edit is, and she's got a pretty good idea of how things go. She's got a pretty good idea about that. Wolf, though, is still, he knows the cartoons are not real.
Yeah.
But he still will walk out of the room if the scary music plays.
Yeah.
Right? To take advantage of someone's perception of what they see on a screen when they're young is so fucking easy. I had to take YouTube Kids off our TV.
Yeah.
Because he'd want to watch YouTube Kids, and it's like, what? It's 3 hours of a grown man playing with a Paw Patrol doll?
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
No.
No. Yeah. I mean, and this was that, I wasn't super across it. I don't know if you were a bit more, the whole Elsa Gate thing.
I don't know what it is.
I think it was this kind of thing. It was YouTube videos that were being created that were kind of not really kid appropriate.
Right.
But they were created in a way that kind of could poison the algorithm almost, that they were being served up for children to watch. But they were kind of, I don't know what, it was called Elsa Gate because it started during Frozen and people were creating these things. And I think it was this kind of, like you said, it was a grown man playing with, dolls or I don't know, suggestible language and all kinds of things like this that was yeah, and if you're someone who just, watch YouTube Kids, it's YouTube Kids, so it's already gone through a bit of
It's got kids written on it.
It's got kids.
It'll be safe.
It's gone through the filtration process. It's already, AI should be filtering that appropriately.
Yeah.
And people were kind of, gaming the algorithm, so to speak, and I mean, there's no upside other than they were like, why not, fuck with things almost, sort of anarchist approach to things.
That's all well and good until there's no water.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love your idea, mate. I'm thrilled. Your idea of no government, redistribution of wealth, brilliant. Great. Yeah. Okay. Does sewage stop working?
Yes. Yeah.
What do we do?
There's some, it's like they've forgotten.
Really important things.
Yeah.
I can't buy a toothbrush now.
Yeah.
And now I've got cavities and now life is terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are we going to do about that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason we got a bunch of stuff. Not all of it's great. Don't get me wrong. Not all of it's great, but there's a reason that things like chlorine make our life a whole lot easier.
Yeah, yeah.
So we've been talking a bit about, like, it is well and truly something we need to be mindful of. But I mean, there's a parallel in the wall behind me. Okay, so electricity absolutely transformed the world 120 years ago, completely changed everything, changed how society works, gave us refrigeration, gave us incredible healthcare. It's unfucking believable. Yet it'll kill you dead. And there's all these kind of rails and rules and regulations and ways we talk to kids about it. But what we're talking about, it could be, if we're careful enough with it, it could be unbelievably useful and change what we have as a society, couldn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, like electricity, like the internet, life before and after these inventions, they're just not even in the same category. And they have the ability to just boost and enrich our lives in ways that prior to their existence, you had no comprehension of that sort of thing taking place.
Yeah.
So there's huge upside to AI. And I think often when people ask me, well, what is that huge upside? I think we've had machines replace labour many, many times over in the past.
Yeah.
We've never really had machines replace mental labour in the same way that AI does. And so I think there's this potential for us to really change the paradigm of what making a living means. And that's kind of been a fairly constant idea, I say, for a while. You work your 40-hour week, you sleep for however many hours, and then you've got a bit of time to yourself. And I think there's a way that we could change that. I think work is always important. I think that sort of purpose is fairly critical to humans.
Yeah.
But we could kind of, can we dial that down a bit, and can we re-amplify some of the things that humanity or humans really get a boost from, which largely I would say is hobbies, passions, and relationships. And so I think the idea of, okay, well, let's change rather than, the 5-day working week and 40 hours a week and work-life balance. It's like, what if making a living, what if life, we can change that in quite a significant way, a bit of an overhaul, and let's have a bit of a reset. A lot of this is kind of rollover legacy stuff that we've implemented over the years as we've had more and more developments, and this potentially is an opportunity to reset that and go, let's start again, because at some point someone just made stuff up, right? Someone just made up the 40-hour work week. Someone just made up how you spend your time. All these things were made up, and it's just kind of rolled over and become the norm. But we can renormalize. And so I think that's probably the biggest upside to AI, is the ability to do that. And I think that could be really interesting. It could be done really wrong if it's not careful and considered. But I think I like to have faith in human ingenuity, in that we will tackle these problems and we can solve them in a clever way that ultimately is beneficial for everyone.
There's that corner in Melbourne, I would ride past it every day when I was heading to the theatre to do the news show, and it's got the 888 symbol there, which is the founding of the 40-hour work week in Australia,
right,
which was because stone cutters had an average lifespan of 35 years. They died at 35 because the people in power who hired these people were just like, fucking cut more sandstone, boys. Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
And these guys would just die because that was just So yes, they made it up, but there was an agreement between the people who did the work with the hammers and the chisels and the people that benefited from scaling that work.
Yep.
And they went, okay, we want 50 hours, you want 40, 30, we'll meet at 40. So there was an agreement between who's got, in this position of power and the people around it. And like, you don't have to be you to be able to talk to your MP about what are you doing about keeping our kids safe around this stuff? Because to think that unless you log into ChatGPT, AI isn't in your life is absolutely false.
Yes.
It is whirring away in the background of pretty much everything we touch, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you're using tech, AI is probably doing something in some capacity. And I think that's ChatGPT or generative AI broadly, I think, kind of changed people's perceptions of what AI is a little bit. But the reality is that, it's been chugging away for a long time. And social media is one of the obvious examples, but things like Google Maps route optimization, your Face ID on your phone, credit card fraud and kind of identifying anomalous transactions, all these things, Spotify and Netflix recommendation engines. Anytime you do something on your phone, on your TV, on your computer, there's probably some aspect of AI that you've interacted with. So nothing's changing, and it's only going to happen in a greater degree, I guess.
How many voice clones of phone calls do we need? Did you hear about that one where they voice cloned like the CFO of some big company on a Zoom call?
Yeah, Ferrari, wasn't it?
And they got his face and everything. And they on the actual Zoom call, they got in there and they authorized his transaction and they just stole squillions. And it sounded, but they'd cloned his voice.
Yeah.
And they'd cloned his face.
Yeah.
And like if I'm in banking, I'd be working pretty quick on figuring out how many more. Can we do 3-factor authentication?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
How do we up our KYC, right?
You need 2 keys to launch a nuclear weapon, and their keyholes are far enough apart that you actually can't. The same person can't do both. Yeah. So it's physical, but. It could be useful.
Yeah, and I think the one I had heard was it was a Ferrari one. They weren't successful, but I think it was because someone asked a question that only they almost did 2-factor authentication live.
Wow.
Like analog mode. And that was really cool, I thought, because it showed, okay, this is how you can still.
They asked them a question that only this person could know.
Correct. Yeah.
And couldn't answer it.
Yeah. So there's still ways we can get around it. But it's wild. And often people, they ask, what's the scariest thing about AI? Is it the Terminator type stuff? And I'm like, no. It's stuff like the deep faking, the prevalence and accuracy of deep faking that you can no longer believe your eyes and ears.
Yeah.
That's where we're running into real strife because we're already seeing how good it is now and how easy it is to do.
Yeah.
That, as you said, banking, there's like, that looks like him, that sounds like him, give him the money.
Yeah.
And
I don't know, my grandson sounds like he's in a lot of trouble over there in Portugal. I didn't even know he'd left the country.
Yeah.
Here's my $10,000.
Exactly. We're gonna have round 2 of the Nigerian prince, but this time instead of an email, it'll be, the audio and video.
It's definitely on the way. I don't know if you realize this though, Matt, is that look, I'm grateful that you're involved in communicating about this because it is something we absolutely have to speak to. And I certainly hope you are in some way talking to people in Canberra because they fucking absolutely need to hear in very simple terms what could be possible, what could be incredible, and what comes with that. And I'm grateful you're in this space. But I remember when you told me, the observable universe with the most powerful is only 64 billion.
93 billion across. So
light years.
Yeah, light years.
But we know it keeps going.
Yeah. Which is the unobservable universe trips me out because does it even matter if it's unobservable? It's there's a lot of this really large scale stuff that it messes with your head a lot. I find it kind of, it's equal parts terrifying and equal parts comforting knowing the sort of insignificance of us in the scheme of things. Yeah, I don't know. I love the kind of idea of, our existence is a way for the universe to understand or experience itself. And I think, there's a lot of really kind of, they sound cliche and a bit woo-woo, but it's kind of a nice way to, I think, give meaning and purpose to our lives, I guess. But yeah, there's a lot of wackiness going. And the big bounce, I think I love the big bounce. And it's the one that makes the most sense to me. I think there's the least evidence for it, but it sounds so, and I think we spoke about it, we both like the neatness of it, that the Big Bang eventually, as gravity reverses the acceleration.
As the entropy.
Yep. Eventually the expansion slows down and then gravity gets it to recollapse. And then when it fully collapses back into a singularity, it blows up and it's Big Bang 2 and Big Bang 3, etc.
I think you mentioned to me on the day and we're in the trillionth iteration.
Who knows?
Of this.
How many times through are we?
There's the same group of atoms thrown out in the universe and different Lego models getting made out of it.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, because it's been happening infinitely, that means probabilistically this very conversation has happened infinity times in the past, will continue to happen. It's that whole thing, with like pi and the decimal places of pi, because it's non-terminating. At some point, if you were to convert those numbers into pixels, that this very image of us talking exists in pi's decimal places in some capacity because of the concepts of infinity. And so it's just wacky. And that also means infinitely within pi's decimal places, this audio recording, if you converted the numbers into audio recording, this audio recording exists in the decimal places of pi. So infinity is wacky, but also fun, I think.
I can't help but think, and this will close the loop on the AI conversation, I can't help but think that we might actually have this kind of, this governor on our brains. So I remember being a 5 when I watched Skylab fall to Earth in 1979. My cousin had come over from Switzerland and she ran out. She said, come. And I watched it because it landed somewhere in Western Australia. Yep. And I watched it fly across the sky. And she told me, oh, no, it's infinite. And I lay there at night trying to think about what infinity is and how it just keeps going. And my brain would just go, blue screen, spinny beach ball. And I wonder if by design we've got this limit on our capacity to consider this stuff, then when your generative AI shows up and then figures out a way to explain it to us, I don't know, actually, here's what's going on.
Yeah. There's again, it's that singularity of intelligence, right? Once AI starts creating things smarter than us, will they solve these? Is that a hard limit for us? Infinity is a hard limit. We can understand conceptually what it is, but maybe there's actually a very neat explanation for it. And I mean, look, there's probably some mathematicians listening here and being like, he's getting infinity wrong. And sorry, I'm not suggesting we don't understand infinity within the constructs of mathematics, but maybe there's this even more kind of profound understanding beyond which our brain allows us to comprehend it. But the singularity with the AI as well, I think for a lot of people thinking about something smarter than us, we're not good at thinking about that. For most people, it's probably someone smarter than us. It would be the equivalent of like an Einstein or something, right? Or a Hawking. We think, we're going to create AI.
Not one that can literally allow you to exercise the 8th dimensional transfer. Here's how you do it.
Correct.
This is what you do.
And so something an order of magnitude smarter, it's the way that you can completely intellectually dominate a dog in a park and fake throw balls, and the dog's not even close. You were just toying with it. The idea of us being the dog and something that much smarter than us that it's just toying with us and completely intellectually dominates us, that it's hard to kind of comprehend that situation.
Do I get snacks and do I get to play chasey chase and then just lying around and have it sleep for 18 hours and occasionally bark at the kids who are walking home from school?
Exactly.
Sounds like a pretty good existence.
I mean, that's it. Sign me up. Let's, it's a dog's life.
If it's going to be that, I might be all right with it. But I can understand how easily, and the thing is we won't even know. We were like, dude, what are you kidding? Shush, there's snacks. Stop barking.
Yeah. And then what if it's not?
I'm a good boy. I'm a good boy. I'm a good boy.
What if it's not dogs? What if it's the difference between us and ants, which is an order of magnitude again? And so we're the ants. And so will we even be aware of them at some point? You know, there's the idea of not being at the top of the intellectual pyramid is so foreign of a concept that to understand how uncomfortable that would be is because the band of kind of, I guess, human IQ is it's quite tight in the scheme of the IQ of living things. That band, you know, and so the top of that band versus the bottom of that band is still in the same order of magnitude. It's kind of terrifying. But I don't even know if I mean, most AI experts, I think, say it's inevitable we'll get to that. But I don't know. Is there something fundamental that we're missing from thinking and consciousness and sentience that we'll never get there with just iteratively improving the algorithms? Is there some kind of missing ingredient of, sentience that without it, it's just a case of creating cleverer and cleverer algorithms?
I'm excited because, I mean, it's real scary, but generally we're still here.
Yes.
We're still here because even when the saber rattling has gotten real big, we have pretty much always erred on the side of let's not destroy each other.
Yeah.
Even though we have the capacity to do so. I just love how I grew up with it, but I love how everyone in the office behind me just has no idea about nuclear annihilation. It's not even in the front of their minds.
Yes.
Like, it's still as real as it was in 1984.
Yes.
In fact, probably more now.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying. You know, I kind of hope that the only reason we're still alive is because humans have always erred on the side of ultimately compassion and empathy. Yes, there's destruction and death and wars happen, but we are still here.
Yes.
Because we're more good than we're not.
Yes.
And I'd like to think that balance will find its way.
Yes. But I agree as well. I think I like to think the same. In aggregate, humans are good and we're robust and we are creative and ingenious and we do solve problems collaboratively and globally now. And so I like to think that the problems that we face, we can tackle, we can err on the side of caution, we can solve things compassionately. And to not think that, I think it's a sad outlook, I think. And I like to think that, collectively we are good people.
And maybe good enough to, like, I don't know, COP 36 or whatever it is, the top 20 carbon emitters will just send AIs that have a set of things that they want and they'll just go and come up with an agreement and everyone goes, actually, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we still get to GDP and you still get to have a thing and
Yeah.
I couldn't have got to that agreement. Could you? No, she could. No, great.
This is the most optimized solution because that's what the AI does.
I'm here.
Optimize.
I'm here for that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'll take that over the deepfakes, thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad you wrote the book, man. Thank you so much. It's interesting times.
No, very interesting times.